Hello, ladies and gents, on this beautiful, beautiful Sunday. Thanks for watching. Thanks for tuning in today's video as always. With that being said, guys, let's get into the point of today's video. So, guys, according to ESPN, we'll be going over, I believe, about 25 teams that still have a shot at making the playoffs in today's video. So, thanks for joining. Happy Sunday. Let's get into it. So, guys, this is according to ESPN. We're going to go over their schedules, and according to ESPN, we'll have their percentage. So, let's get into it. So, guys, we'll start at Michigan. We'll go bottom up. Michigan currently had a 7% chance of making the playoffs. We're also going to look at their remaining schedule. So Michigan, they have a game. There's each team right now currently has either 3 or 2 games left. So Michigan currently right now, they had on the road. I believe this game's actually in Chicago. They had on the road to play Northwestern. Honestly, Michigan should win that game. And then they play. My predictions come out Wednesday, so I'm not going to give you like a prediction, but I'm just going to see what happens there. I'm going to give you like a heads up. And they play at Maryland on the 21st. And then in the season against Ohio State, they've owned Ohio State the last couple of days. Last couple of years, sorry. And Michigan, yeah, it's not likely, man. I mean, Michigan needs like Oregon to lose or USC to lose. They need teams in front of them to lose to maybe get in that 11 seed. I think that's the best thing for Michigan. Or, man, I guess technically they could make the Big Ten championship, but they need a lot to go their way. So Michigan, no, but not. Not no. I think the 7% is around right. It's not high. But they're not out of it. Miami, though, at 11%, they're coming off a nice win against Syracuse. So Miami this weekend, they host NC State. NC State just pulled off a nice upset against Georgia Tech. I think they're coming off a bye, I believe. NC State's not a bad team. Miami should win, though, playing at home. At Virginia Tech, maybe could lose this one. It's on the road. Virginia Tech, though, is not that good, so they should win. And then they play at Pitt. Pitt's a really good team. Miami could possibly lose that game. So Miami, I think they could drop another one before the end of the season. Currently, they're around 11%. I think that's about right for Miami. So Miami making the ACC championship game is not likely, even though I think Louisville and Virginia losing did help them a lot. So good job by Miami. Not really, they didn't do anything, but they did beat Syracuse. But good, I guess it's good for Miami that Virginia and Louisville lost. So that's good for Miami. Virginia, though, they have 2 games remaining. They play at Duke this weekend. They have a bye, and then in the season against Virginia Tech. Virginia should win out the schedule. Duke's okay. Duke's coming off a loss against UConn, which is not great. But Virginia, they should win that game. Virginia Tech's terrible. They should win that game. So I expect Virginia to win out. They could maybe lose to Duke. They're currently at an 11% chance, but that loss to Wake Forest. I think their quarterback got injured. The offense was terrible. Wake Forest got a punt return touchdown. Crazy. So Virginia, they definitely could win. Make the play. I guess they can make the playoffs, but it's unlikely. SMU also at 11% currently right now. They're coming off a win on the road at Boston College win, and now they have a bye week this upcoming week, and then they play Louisville. That's a really important game. Louisville's coming off a loss against California. SMU, that's a coin flip game. I could see either team winning that game against Louisville. That game is in 2 weeks. And then in the season on the road at California. California's a really good team, so SMU honestly could lose out. They could lose both. I could easily see SMU losing out. So I don't think SMU makes the playoffs. They could also win those games. So I think SMU, they could probably lose or win both of those games. They'll probably be favored, I don't know, against Louisville. Will they be favored in that game? I think Louisville will be favored. They'll probably be favored against California, though, to end the regular season. I don't know. California is a really good team. They're not really good, but California's a sneaky good team. Anyway, next move. Let's go to Tulane. So Tulane, they're kind of a weird team because I thought Tulane was honestly done after they lost to UTSA 2 Thursdays ago, or kind of last Thursday, not this previous Thursday, the Thursday before they lost on the road to UTSA. But then they went on the road against, in my opinion, I'm pretty high on this Memphis team. They go on the road and beat a really good Memphis squad. So give credit to Tulane there. They're now ranked in the AP poll, actually. The AP poll doesn't even matter anymore. We just care about the rankings that come out Tuesday. My prediction video is on Wednesday, by the way, guys. Anyway, let's talk about Tulane. So Tulane, they have 3 games remaining. They have a home game this upcoming weekend against Florida Atlantic. They should destroy them. At Temple, they should win. They beat Charlotte. So these are Tulane's likely going to win out and make the American Championship game. And I think the winner of the American Championship game should make the playoffs as the Group of 5 representative. Tulane just has an easy schedule. They have Florida Atlantic, Temple, and Charlotte. They should win all those games. They're going to be heavy favorites in all of them. Probably they're going to be at least plus 10 favorites in all those games. So we shouldn't see Tulane struggling. They should get a win there. They currently have a 13% chance to make the playoffs. I would honestly up that. Tulane, they have a really easy schedule. Tulane also has some decent wins in the Power 4. They have 2 great Power 4 wins. Home wins against Duke and Northwestern. I know they had that blowout loss to Ole Miss, but Duke and Northwestern aren't bad teams. Northwestern and Duke, I think, are pretty average Power 4 teams. So I think those are 2 really good wins for Tulane, and then that road win against Memphis. looks really good. I'm pretty high on Memphis, though. Memphis, though, you got to feel bad for them. They're not even on this thing, I don't think. USC at 18%. They're coming off a win against Northwestern. And now this upcoming weekend, they'll play Iowa. I think USC could probably win that game. Iowa, not bad, but playing at home, you probably trust USC more. I don't want to preview my predictions in this video because I think I'm going to put that video out on Wednesday, so go check that video out when it comes out. And then to play at Oregon, I don't see them beating Oregon in the season against UCLA, against I think a weird UCLA team in the season. I don't think USC makes it. They're currently at an 18%. I think that's too high. USC more like a 7%. Their schedule is just too tough, in my opinion, in the season. They'll probably beat Iowa. They'll probably beat UCLA, but they'll lose to Oregon most likely. Now we get in the 20s. Utah's now has a 24% chance. They're coming off a bye. They had that big blowout win 2 weeks ago against Cincinnati. They play on the road against, I think, an average Baylor team. Baylor's not terrible, but they're just kind of average. They go on the road. That should be kind of a tough game at Baylor. And they play against an average Kansas State team at home. They should win that game. And then in the season at Kansas. So not an awful schedule. They could also lose a couple of those games. They're going to win at least one of them. I don't think Utah loses out. At Kansas. Kansas is also not a bad team. But I feel like Utah just plays a bunch of average Big 12 teams in the season. So definitely can see making the playoffs to make the Big 12 championship and win. They get an automatic bid. If they lose the Big 12 championship, I don't think they're making it. I think only one Big 12 team gets in. Texas Tech, though, they look really good. Anyway, let's move on to Vanderbilt. Vanderbilt, what a weird game against Auburn they had. Weird game. And they have 2 games remaining. They have a bye week up this coming week. So they play Kentucky, Kentucky's looked a little better. They just blew out Florida. I mean, is Kentucky making the playoffs? Absolutely not. But Kentucky, man, what a great win for Kentucky there. Excuse me. Well, they just blew out Florida. Florida's quarterback threw like 3 interceptions. Like, Florida's not a good team. And Georgia struggled with Florida. Anyway, that's a whole different conversation. But Vanderbilt, they should beat Kentucky playing them at home, even though they had that weird overtime win against Auburn. And then in the season at Tennessee, this Tennessee-Vandy game, this is a tough game. Tennessee's pretty much done from the playoffs. I don't see Tennessee making it. Vanderbilt, I could see them winning this game probably, even on the road. I don't know when it's scheduled. It's the last. That Vandy-Tennessee game is definitely a big playoff game for Vandy. If Vandy, I don't think Vandy makes it. They lose to Tennessee. I think this is definitely Vandy. This is kind of a win in. They're not making the SEC championship game. I think the SEC championship game is between Alabama and Texas A&M. I don't think Vandy makes it. But this is definitely a playoff in or out game. Vandy got to go in there and beat Tennessee in that rivalry game. They should beat Kentucky though. So 2 games remaining on the schedule. They're currently, according to ESPN, they have a 24% chance. Let's go over to North Texas, which they're now at a 30% chance. And we're going to look at the remaining schedule. So 3 games left. They play at UAB. UAB's not a good team. UAB upset Memphis. So maybe North Texas trips up there. They should win that game. And they play at Rice. And then in the season at home against Temple. They should win all those games. All those teams. Temple's having a little better year, but North Texas should win. So I expect maybe we'll have a Tulane North Texas American Championship game. When honestly would not surprise me. So North Texas, they have a very easy schedule. They should win out. I don't expect them to lose any of those games. They're currently a 30% chance. Maybe the winner of the American Championship game, maybe it's between North Texas and Tulane. Winner of that game gets that group of 5 bid into the playoffs. So that could also be a play-in game. Oklahoma currently at a 33% chance. I don't think Oklahoma's making it, guys. They play at Alabama this upcoming weekend. I'm really high on this Alabama team. I know Alabama didn't look great against LSU, but I'm still pretty high on Alabama. And they have to go that play on the road. I don't know about Oklahoma. And then they have a home game against Missouri. Missouri's good. I think Oklahoma wins. And in the season against LSU, I don't see Oklahoma making it, guys. Honestly, I don't see it. Maybe, but I think they're probably gonna lose to Alabama, and then Missouri. Missouri, they probably could win that game. It honestly wouldn't surprise me if they lose. They got that game at home. And then in the season against a beat-up LSU team. I think they'll beat LSU in the regular season. Anyway, next coming up, 36%, we got Georgia Tech. Georgia Tech, they play this upcoming weekend coming off a bye. The week before, they had that bad loss at NC State. They should destroy Boston College. Boston College is one of the worst teams in the FBS and the ACC. And they have a home game against Pitt. And then they have a neutral site game against Georgia. I first thought that game was at Georgia Tech, but they're playing that game at neutral site. Why? I don't get that. That's besides the point, though. So they play, I think they can honestly, Georgia Tech, they'll beat Boston College, but honestly, they can probably lose to Pitt. That's not a guaranteed win. Pitt's a really good team. I'm pretty high on Pitt. And they'll probably honestly lose to Georgia. So Georgia Tech, their chances could be a lot lower than when the ESPN says at 36%. Georgia Tech, I'm not quite buying them. I think Georgia Tech's a good team, but this is a tough schedule, man. Tough schedule, man. Pitt's a really good team. College Game Day is going to be there for the Notre Dame Pitt game. Anyway, let's move on here. So the next team we'll talk about is JMU from the Sun Belt. And their remaining schedule is they play at App State's been very disappointing this year. I mean, App State, they've had a couple ups and downs. JMU should win that game playing at home. And then they play against a very weird Washington State team. Because Washington State, it feels like they're way better than the record says. Because they probably could have beaten both Ole Miss and Virginia. But then they just sold it late. And then Washington State lost to Oregon State. They play Oregon State twice this year, which doesn't even make any sense. JMU, though, should win that game. And then they end the season on the road against Coastal Carolina. Coastal Carolina, they're an all right team. But JMU honestly, they could probably win out the schedule, honestly. Maybe they'll trip up some game, but I mean, JMU, I think, not much to say there. USF currently at 40% to make the playoffs. They play at Navy. Navy is so overrated. Navy, I mean, they compete in the first half against Notre Dame, but Notre Dame blew them out. Navy's very fraudulent. I expect USF to win that game. They play them this upcoming weekend. And they play at UAB. They'll probably win that game, and then in the season against Rice. So USF probably will win out, honestly. So I like that 40%. So I don't know what will happen. I think the American right now is between Tulane. I think Memphis and Navy are out. I think it's between USF, North Texas, and Tulane now. But anyway, guys, let's move on to the next game. 45%. You guys know I've been a big Texas hater. Even though they're coming off a bye, they play at Georgia. I think Georgia should win that game. I don't want to give my predictions quite. I'll give more of my prediction of these games in a future video on Wednesday. Will be my prediction video. But then Texas should destroy Arkansas. Arkansas's terrible. And they have the Lone Star rivalry against Texas A&M at home. Ooh, Texas, honestly, and then they're going to beat Arkansas. Arkansas, they're better than Arkansas. They'll win that game at home. But at Georgia and then Texas A&M, ooh, that's a tough schedule for Texas. I guess honestly, they could go 1-2 the rest of the way and not make the playoffs. I've been very down on Texas, even though they looked pretty good against Vanderbilt. So we'll see what happens to Texas. Next team we'll talk about is BYU. BYU, that they just laid an egg on the road at Texas Tech that weekend. That was a terrible game. And they have a home game against TCU. TCU's a kind of a quiet team. I think they're coming off a loss against Iowa State. See, that's not a game you want to sleep on if you're BYU. They do get that game at home. I think BYU will probably win. And then they play at Cincinnati. That's a tough game right there. BYU could probably lose that game on the road. And then they play against maybe an average UCF team. So BYU, not an awful schedule. At Cincinnati is a tough game, but not looking great for them. Anyway, move on. We'll go to BYU. By the way, guys, BYU is at a 45% chance. Notre Dame at 49%. So Notre Dame, they play at Pitt. That's actually College Game Day is going there. Just announced College Game will be in that at Pitt. That's a gimme. I think Notre Dame. I don't want to give my prediction yet, but they can honestly win that game. You know, Pitt's a really good team, and then they play Syracuse at home and on the road at Stanford. They're going to win both of those games. Let's be completely honest. Notre Dame should win. The Pitt game, it's kind of a up and down. I can honestly see Notre Dame winning that game. Losing that game on the road at Pitt. Anyway, next game we'll talk about will be Ole Miss. Ole Miss. Notre Dame currently at a 49% chance, by the way. Ole Miss at 81. We jumped. This is according to ESPN, guys. This is just according to ESPN, not me. Well, I'm giving my takes, but the percentage is based off ESPN. It's not my opinion. Ole Miss, though, at 81% chance. They play against a bad Florida. Florida's a terrible team. They're not good. And then in the season, the Egg Bowl against Mississippi State. Ole Miss they're going to win out, let's be honest. Ole Miss, they should win out. They just have an easy schedule. They're going to win out, most likely. I just don't see how they don't. So Ole Miss should make the playoffs at 11-1. Yeah, wait, no. Yeah, 11-1. They're 11-1, I believe. I like that percentage. Texas Tech at 84%. Texas Tech, they end the season. When they have 2 games left, they have a home game against UCF. They should win that game. And they play at West Virginia in the season. West Virginia's looked a little better, but I expect Texas Tech to win that game. Texas Tech's a really good team. I'm really high on Texas Tech. They just took care of business against BYU, a good BYU team. Anyway, Oregon at 86%. Oregon, they have a Friday night game this weekend against Minnesota. They should dominate that game. And then the USC, I expect them to win. And then at Washington. Washington coming off a rough loss at Wisconsin. Oregon can probably triple one of these games, but I just don't see it. I think Oregon probably wins out. They're currently an 86% chance. I kind of like that. And then Georgia, 92%. According to ESPN, they have a home game against Texas this upcoming weekend. And then they play a home game. They have a gimme game against Charlotte. That's just a get-right game. They should destroy Charlotte. Texas, I think they're going to... I don't want to give my prediction. But playing at home against Texas, they should. And then they play Georgia Tech at a neutral site. That should be an interesting game against Georgia Tech. Georgia Tech might have some momentum heading to that game. But Georgia definitely could probably win out the schedule. They'll destroy Charlotte, Anyway, but Georgia currently at an 86% chance. Now, Alabama at a 96% chance. They have a home game this upcoming weekend against Oklahoma. I think Alabama will probably win. And then they play Eastern Illinois. They should win by 50 points in that game against an FCS school. And then in the season, on the road at Auburn in the Iron Bowl. So Alabama, they could probably win out the schedule. Maybe Auburn will be kind of a trippy one. It's a rivalry game. I know Auburn's not that good. I mean, they gave Vandy a good run for their money. But Auburn, I think Alabama will probably win out and they'll probably play. I think they're going to play Texas A&M in the SEC championship game. And then we got Texas. Speaking of Texas A&M, and a 99% chance, according to ESPN, to make the playoffs. So they play a home game against South Carolina. They should win. That's upcoming this weekend, I believe. And they play Sanford, and then in the season, the Lone Star rivalry at Texas. They might lose to Texas. But I expect A&M to win out of the schedule. They should win. They'll beat South Carolina and Stanford. But the Texas game's interesting. The Texas game is a really good game on Black Friday. On the road, too. That's a night game on the road, a rivalry game. Should be an interesting game. They should beat South Carolina and Stanford at home, though, with ease. Anyway, let's move on to our next one. And then Ohio State also had a 99% chance to make the playoffs. They have a weird game at home against UCLA. UCLA, they had so much momentum, and then they play Indiana, just got destroyed. Coming off a bye, they lose a heartbreaker at home against Nebraska. So UCLA's lost some momentum. Ohio State should win this game by, I don't want to give my prediction, but they're going to probably beat UCLA. And then they're going to crush Rutgers, most likely. And then they play at Michigan. They've struggled. Ryan Day struggled at Michigan over the past couple of years. But Ohio State, even if they do lose to Michigan, I still expect them to make the playoffs. Even if they lose, they'll probably have a first-round game if they lose to Michigan. Maybe could still make the Big Ten championship game even with the loss to Michigan. That's actually kind of the reason Ohio State's not made the Big Ten championship game, because they always lose to Michigan in the regular season. I don't know what's going on with Ohio State, guys. But anyway, guys, at number one, the final team we're doing had a 99% chance, which is pretty much over 100. Indiana has the easiest schedule ever. They end the season. They're 20-point favorites in all these games. They have a game against Wisconsin this upcoming weekend. They have a bye week and end the season on Black Friday on the road at Purdue. Purdue's been competitive though. Purdue has actually been really competitive. Don't look at Purdue's 2-7 record and say they've been terrible. Purdue's been in a couple games. They kept it low scoring with Ohio State. They only lost by 5 points on the road at Michigan. So Purdue's not an awful team. Indiana should still win by 30 points though. And Wisconsin, I know they're coming off that big time win at home against Washington. But let's be honest, Wisconsin, they are going to get crushed in that game. So Indiana should win both of those games by around 30 points. So that's going to do today's video, everyone. Who do you think is the most likely in making the college football playoff? Let me know your thoughts about this in the comment section below. Have a great night. Have a great day. Happy Sunday. Peace out.